of that. And you'll find that in industrialized food systems, you're not going to see them going into the chicken house or where the animals are being raised because it's not up to good standards or healthy standards.
Zephyr, our students do a lot of volunteer work, and they're involved working with many different organizations. Is there a specific organization you think is young culinarians that they should become involved with?
Chef's Collaborative.
Yeah, that's where I met you actually.
Is that so?
It was at a picnic
Ah,
a long time ago. Yeah.
the Urban Raft picnic. I was having fun that
Chef's
day.
Collaborative, can you explain a little bit about it, because I know you're a big proponent.
Well, Chefs Collaborative is basically where farmers and fishers get to meet chefs, and they meet each other, they work together, they use each other's product. There's a really wonderful book that I think they were keeping updated for a while that was all of the local farmers and fishers and what they do, and then all of the local chefs in the area and what they would like to buy from you. And it's tough because any chef will say, "Oh, I want to buy everything from you," but it's tough to actually buy it as best as you can, because there's actually a lot more farmers out there that have stuff, and it creates this. You get to pick who has the best peach out there and try from 8 different farms. The answer is Rama. Rama has the best peach and very short availability. But the Chefs Collaborative does a lot of work nationwide to introduce chefs and farmers and make the farming community. They're trying to make farmers the new rock stars. Everybody likes to think that chefs are the new rock stars, and you're not. You're the backup band. The farmers are the rock stars because, frankly, without them, we wouldn't be enjoying this kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I'm going to enjoy some brodo after you make stock with that.
Brodo? So the other thing you make with all these bones from the head, if you would like, is risole, which I'm sure is one of Chef Herman's specialties. Yes? Delicious? Delicious. Okay, so for the ribs, basically you can take them off the backbone, and leave them whole like this, or you can trim them up, and then they would be a little bit more usable for retail sale. For me personally, because I haven't decided what the ultimate end result is going to be for these, I'm just going to leave that there because it's pretty. So what you'll see here, actually, from the shoulder end to the tail end, is where I book butchered it or opened it up this way. So now what I'm going to do is split it down the middle and take the loins off from the belly. You could certainly leave the skin on if you were going to do a more rustic style bacon, but I will be taking the skin off a little bit later. So it looks much different than the loin that you would get in a supermarket, no? The other thing that you want to note is that the color difference is huge. So in an animal that isn't raised to a good maturity, you're gonna hold it up. Sorry. There you go. You're gonna see really light colored and very soft textured meat. So that's one of the reasons that in France they take it to a 12-month-old state, so that there's a little bit more texture to the meat.
What's the oldest pig that you ever gave to butcher?
The oldest pig that I've ever butchered?
That
That I would want to butcher? Well, 12 months is a good age, because you have to think of it from the perspective that raising animals is also a business, right? These farmers need to make money. So for every day that it's being raised, it needs to be fed, it needs to be given water, it needs an environment to thrive in. More space the better. You don't really see that in conventional agriculture. A lot of the animals are crammed together in small spaces, and also they have their ears and their tails clipped so that they don't attack each other.
Chef, kind of a different question. What are going to be the quality differences between an animal slaughtered younger versus an animal slaughtered at an older age?
Besides the muscle texture?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would be similar to what you would see with veal, pink veal that's raised a little bit older than milk fed, and a full-grown cow, or beef.
Lamb to mutton.
Right, lamb to mutton. So you're going to see a little bit flavor difference. You're going to see a little bit texture difference. What else? Size. Size does matter. Well, this is a 3-month-old pig, right? And it's 60 pounds, and so depending on what your yield is, if you're going to do, so here's the I think a piece that I think Zephyr is also speaking to that's very important. It's also going to depend on the application, right? So the farmer needs to do it in a way that's going to keep him, keep himself in business and be profitable. But it's also going to depend, if you're doing whole animal butchery, on what the final application is, right? Because if you know that you've got a 50 or 60% yield, I know I'm going to blow your mind with some math right now, and you need to consider you're feeding how many people with it, then at that point you want to go with an older animal that has more weight on it, or with a variety that grows more quickly. So because this is a Yorkshire and it's 3 months old, I think Marv said that at full grown it can drastically be like 250. So he doesn't really grow them to an advanced level of maturity. Did I answer that question correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so to do the shoulders, what I want to do is I'm going to go up against those 2 chest bones on the very inside and into the seam so that I can separate it off. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but what I did quite a bit was I used gravity to my advantage. Some butchers will actually butcher hanging. So there's a butcher shop on Capitol Hill called Rain Shadow Meats that deals pretty much exclusively with local farmers and sustainably raised meat, but they will actually butcher hanging. So you'll see hooks and a slider that they'll bring the animals out on, and they'll butcher it vertically, because using gravity is more sustainable for you as the butcher than using trying to lift dead weight.
That's kind of like back east butchering also, when they do it like that too.
They butcher hanging?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because in lieu of me having, a butcher station here, what you saw me doing was I was using gravity this way. So I think that's important. I mean, you need to talk about what's going to be sustainable for you once you get out in the industry. Is it sustainable for you to be butchering animals that weigh 2 times as much as you, and you having to sort of wrestle the pig every time you're going to butcher it? No. Is it going to be sustainable for you to work 12 hours without drinking water? No. So everything, you need to give respect and attention to your body while you're doing these things. So I got one shoulder off. Now in a mature animal, this top part right here, that fat layer would be much thicker and could be used for lardo, right? The back fat that runs along the top side. But because it's a little bit younger, the fat, because it's a firm fat, can be used to make pate. Okay? Traditionally, well, in contemporary ratios, you'll see sausage blends of about 75 to 25. Chefs, would you say? Yes, no? But with pate as well. And then the other thing to be mindful of when you're breaking down shoulders the most widely used cut for pate, for sausage making, because it has a natural balance of fat to lean. That's about 75 to 25. Now, when we talk about the shoulder, we're talking about 2 cuts, right? We're talking about the Boston butt and the picnic shoulder. Okay? So for those of you that are in the back who can't see that, you got the Boston butt up here and the picnic shoulder. Now, with different ethnic cuts from around the world, you'll actually see this top part, if it's taken from the jowl to the fourth rib, the fourth or fifth rib, which would be a little bit further in up here. When that top part of the shoulder is separated off, it's called copa, or neck roast. It can be cured with salt. It can also be roasted, which is my preferred method for Thanksgiving instead of a turkey. But that said, you've got this top part and this bottom part, okay? And in actuality, the top part has a better mix of fat to lean, so this is typically what's going to be used for making sausage and pate.
So you can't just freeze pork, right? You have to either cure it or smoke it.
You can't just freeze pork?
Yeah.
Well, freezing, I think, is an important method of preservation that if you are careful and you make sure that the meat is not does not have a super high water content, it can freeze fairly well. I prefer to cure it before I freeze it, or what's called what they called in Gascony a demi-sel, which is basically just a half cure in salt, and then then it's already halfway seasoned by the time I get to it.
Did you have something hard to that?
The butcher that I just did a report with said that if you just straight freeze pork, it will continue to age and will taste rancid. You don't cure it or salt it or smoke it. So you
I did not know that. That's the first I've heard. Anyone else have an answer for that question?
I just know that back when we used to do that you doing right there, we used to cure ours in salt, seasoning, and vinegar, apple cider, before we did anything with it. Overnight, the food could be the next day. So that's how we did it. I don't know if I said my answer that question, but that's how we did it.
Okay, now thank you, by the way. In a traditional, conventional American butchery, they would take it probably at around here with just a straight cut, which would you see on your cuts guide. The trotter will be removed. The shank might still be attached depending on what the final use was. I actually like to separate it out not so straight, so I follow the line of the bone and the knuckle, and then I take it off that way, and then I take the hock off right above that elbow joint right there. So, how much time do we have? 10 minutes? Okay. So to do the ham, now a couple of different things. You wouldn't want to use this kind of ham for a long cure. You want something with a little more maturity that can age well. The other thing that you need to be mindful of, too, is that there's some glands in here that will degrade over time. So you want to remove those glands if you are going to be using it for a cure. And finally, there's a major artery through here, right? The femoral artery. So all of that blood that is in that artery, if you're going to be curing it, needs to actually be massaged out. And in Italy, I believe they actually bludgeon the hams to get the blood out. And then you've got jamon serrano, you have Bayonne ham, and you have prosciutto. Each of those has a different bone that's taken out. So the Austrians, if they're going to cure a whole ham, will actually leave the H bone in and just cut this off right here. The H bone is actually spelled A-I-T-C-H, and is a sort of, it's the hip bone. It's got a little hook in it, and it starts right here and goes to here. And then you've got the femur coming over here. So to clean this guy up, if I was going to be using this for curing, you'd see a much thicker layer of fat, and you would actually bevel the fat slightly smaller than the dimensions of the meat, because as the meat dries out and that water evaporates, the fat will then be equivalent to the actual size of the meat. So it'll start to actually roll up around it. So I'm just going to start by taking the gland out here, and then I'll show you how I would trim it up if I was going to be doing an air-cured ham. You basically want to remove any of the smaller musculature, but with respect to the seam butchery piece, you do want to leave that membrane. You want to take it down underneath this membrane here, which I'll show you in a minute after I take this off. But you want to leave that membrane intact so that it can dry and give you another barrier against any bacterial growth. Now in Gascony, they'll actually take the hams as well. Whatever doesn't get turned into the little air-cured hams, or the ham nuts as they're called, gets turned into another kind of air-cured sausage because, again, that muscle development gives us more flavor. So you'll see underneath right there, you've got that membrane. Now, if you were going to air-cure this, you want to leave just that part on, not this, what some people call bubblegum fat over here. So then to take the H-bone out, you just follow the contour of the bone, starting up here. And there's a little pocket right there, or a little hole in the bone that you can use if you've got a bigger animal and you're trying to butcher. You can actually use that as another lever, if you will. So let's see, we talked about the butcher's yoke, we talked about some Austrians, we talked about those Frenchies with the weird mustaches. Does anyone have any questions? Like, how can I go work at a butcher shop?
What would? I'd like to go to Spain to learn their methods for butchery.
Spain? Now Spain is an interesting thing because a lot of times what you need is a sponsor. In France, it's much easier to go to number one to work in work at a school with some people. Spain, they're a little more selective. You might have to get a sponsor. You would also want to see if there was any sort of culinary organizations that were offering a special scholarship there. Another way to do it would be to ask a chef to connect you with someone that they know abroad. Okay, so now you can see I've got the top of the femur bone exposed and the H bone is coming away. I'm just gonna take that all the way down and roll it out.
Chef, what would you recommend, say, locally, a first step be for somebody who wants to get into butchery?
What would I recommend as far as a local opportunity?
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to a gentleman named Chris Marquez at the Swinery. He likes to have students in often. I used to take students to the Swinery last summer, twice a week. They get whole beef quarters in, which is something that you don't always have an opportunity to butcher. Another good local opportunity, and they do take classes, so like student groups go up, is in Bow. So I mentioned the mobile slaughter unit. They actually will go out, say to Lopez Island, with the mobile truck. They slaughter on site. There's a USDA inspector that accompanies the truck out there. And then what ends up happening is the animal is slaughtered, the viscera are removed, or the internal organs. They're inspected for pathology to make sure that the animal is disease-free, and then they're hung. And so typically the mobile slaughter unit can hold probably about 30 hogs, and then they take it back to Bow, where it's processed. So they will process it for you all the way down. They've got butchers on site. Or they'll just split and clean the animal up and then give it back to you for whatever your needs are.
Doesn't Bruce up at Lopez Island have a thing that he does too with the beef?
Who?
Lopez Island, Bruce, he's up there. He does classes where you can come in and he'll hang a half side of beef. He'll mark it up and then just let the students go at it. And frankly, if you're up there, buy the beef that's for chuck, because they just turn it all into chuck afterwards if you screw up the cuts.
They do the same thing at Bo. For like
Yeah.
$80, you can take a class, and depending on what they've got on site, from a local farmer, they might even throw in like a half of a lamb or something for you as well. Another opportunity that's a little bit closer to us would be Brandon and Laura Sheard, the Farmstead Meatsmith
Oh yeah.
couple. They do butchery classes as well. Brandon actually participated in the Cochon 555 Who's Your Butcher competition, and he did all seam style butchery. So the other guy, who was from Olympic Provisions, which is another sort of Northwest favorite of mine for curing, it's one of the only USDA certified curing facilities in the Pacific Northwest, besides the guys up in Leavenworth. But they're salumists, and so they're used to hacking the meat up. Brandon, on the other hand, caresses the animal, talks to it. He's got super old school knives like I do. But he's a very sweet, methodical butcher. And he and his wife do butchering for the local farmers out there, and they teach classes as well.